Welcome to another episode of E by Gore, the horror movie franchise review podcast show channel. What is it?
Fuck to far now, mate. We are whatever you want us to be. What do you want us to be today? We're that. Anyway, tell you what I am. I'm Damien.
And I'm Tris.
Brew up, be ready. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe button. Our little bell-shaped thing down there. Give that a click. Every time we release new videos, new content, you will be notified. You can drop whatever you're doing and give us all that attention we so desperately crave.
Yeah, we are thirsty bitches, you know.
Ain't that the truth?
And now, if you're not watching this on YouTube and instead are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever other shit you're listening to us on, welcome.
Yeah, welcome to E by Gore, an audio experience. Just relax. Maybe we'll do this AMSR style. This welcome to E by Gore.
We're reviewing horror podcasts.
This feels weird. Is this AMSR? I don't know. I don't know why this is so popular. Anyway, fuck AMSR. We're talking horror movies, and today we are doing... What are we doing, Tris?
We are doing Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Halloween 3 Season of the fucking Witch. Yes, fucking damn right we are. An absolute masterclass in horror cinema.
Okay, so I have actually some thoughts on that one, and to be honest, dude, you may not like them.
Really?
But, yep. That said, first, what's your history with this movie, dude?
First of all, before we go into this, just want to let all you guys know out there, we do spoilers on this show. So if you've not seen Halloween 3 Season of the Witch,
Abso-fucking-lutely,
30 or 40 years after it's come out, go check it out. Go watch it now. It is on Netflix, I believe. I watched this on Blu-ray, as I do most movies that I watch. So yeah, my history with this movie, it's another one I watched when I was younger. Had seen the first two prior to this. I remember it came on TV, which always fucked me off way back then, because there was like commercial, ad breaks every 20 minutes, and it just takes you out of the movie completely. I think it was on Channel 4. So I was surprised that there was no Michael Myers, as most people were. My dad never told me that there was no Michael Myers in this movie before watching it, so all the way through, I was like, is he gonna come? This is a weird movie. Where's Myers? Where is Myers at? But one thing I did love, even at such a young age, was the concept and how dark the whole concept of the movie is. It's far darker than the original Halloween's, in my opinion. You know, with the whole exterminate children plot going on in there. And it's also my first experience of Tom Atkins, and a boy never forgets his first experience with Tom Atkins watching him, and it started a unreal man crush of mine that's lasted about 20 years.
crush.
Absolute man
Another
crush
one.
on Tom
Oh,
Atkins.
God.
Another one of many. But what about you? What is your experience with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
Yeah, to be honest, pretty much like I said with Halloween 2 when we did that the last time, I've not really got much history with it. I watched the first one, not seen any of the other movies, although I did know that this one was a bit different. It didn't have Michael Myers in it. It was a little more a journey towards, well, essentially what John Carpenter wanted Halloween to be in the first place, in the fact that it was more an anthology of things that sort of happened around Halloween. So hence the reason why Michael Myers is not in that. I also knew from obviously all the press and everything else that, well, it didn't really go down too well with the hardcore Halloween fans from the first two. So
like
yeah, that's pretty sandwich. Much it. Like a shit sandwich with knobs on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, John Carpenter didn't really think there was anything more to the Michael Myers story after the first one. So,
definitely not after the second one, that's for sure.
I mean, in his words, well, not in his words, I'm paraphrasing, but, he kind of phoned it in on the second one, despite the fact I really enjoy it. And yeah, like you said, he wanted to do an annual or like a biannual horror anthology type series with different movies revolving around Halloween. And I would have loved that because
Absolutely.
looking at some of the later horror movies that Carpenter did, especially the low budget stuff like Prince of Darkness or In the Mouth of Madness, I love those movies, and I would have loved to have seen what he could have brought to the table in terms of Halloween. It was not written by John Carpenter or Deborah
No.
Hill. It was just produced by them. It was written by Tommy Lee Wallace, and it was directed by him as well. Didn't do well. I say he didn't do much. He went. I mean, he went on to do Fright Night 2 in the 80s, and he also did It. You know, not the new one, but the original
Yeah.
1990 Tim Curry one. So, you know, he's done stuff. Jamie Lee Curtis obviously does not return much, but she does have a cameo, which I will quiz you on later to see if you picked up on it. I'm going to bet you don't.
Probably not.
Nah, she's so yeah, there's a lot that went on with this movie. There's a lot that went into the production. The script was written and then rewritten a few times. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, we don't go blow by blow, on the plot, but we'll just give a little bit of an overview on this one, just so everyone's got a bit of a stone to move around.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
excuse me.
Shall we take a look at the sort of like movie poster?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
pretty
Lay it
cool.
on me.
I quite like it. There you go. Look at that.
I like it.
I do like it. It's quite cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I've got the poster of that. I say if it's like a miniature that came with the box set. It's cool as fuck. I can't put it up in the house though. The
Is it
missus
German or
won't.
Italian?
It's Italian, but it is in English. I think it's more the fact
Bonus.
that the missus was she'll not be best pleased if I start plastering horror posters all around the house. She gets mad enough with my DVD collection, as it is. Um, but yeah, let's look at the plot a little bit. So, movie opens with a shop owner and a guy. He's being pursued by mysterious men in suits in a car. They try to kill him. They catch up with him, try throttling him, but they manage to. The dude manages to somehow unwedge a car, and the man in the suit gets absolutely shit mixed by the car.
Do you know what
Um,
I love about that sort of like first kill scene?
yeah,
The car is moving so fucking slowly.
I
The
know.
guy just looks at it and goes, "Oh, I'm gonna die now. Fucking awesome." And there you
Yeah,
go. It's not really, it's not going to give him whiplash. That he could have literally pushed it off with his hands, but hey ho, let's let's
it's not the
let's go
most
with it.
convincing. I will concede
Not
that
at
to you.
all.
It's not the most
For a
convincing
first
plot.
kill as well, that's the one that you want, to really, whet your appetite. It's not the best first kill, is it?
No, but I tell you what does whet my appetite is the score to this movie. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter scores. It's really like electronic and like really electro synth. It kind of reminds me of like
Yeah,
the
it's
old
pretty good.
like the old Sega Mega Drive games, like Streets of Rage,
Absolutely.
Terminator versus RoboCop. That kind of that electro synth stuff. That because this movie kind of it's got vibes of video games for me. Like
Oh, absolutely.
it's very
Definitely.
like this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. It's very level orientated for me. Um, but yeah, that definitely whet my appetite. The score. Did I also mention that this is set on October 23rd? So obviously we're on a run up to Halloween with this. And also like the guy makes it to a petrol station. There's like a TV playing, and we find out that someone's nicked one of the stones from Stonehenge, which is a feat in
I,
its fucking self.
Absolutely. How the hell did they do that? But aside from that, this was the point where I was thinking, okay, we're in the petrol station. Oh dear. Traditional horror movie. Black dude's going to die first. He didn't.
And I know, yeah,
Awesome.
no, but he doesn't really have a huge part to play in this either, does he? Really, he kind of
Not
appears and
really.
then disappears just as quick as he entered. Um, but yeah, the guy also like the guy collapses in the petrol station. Now he only had like a really small fight with the dude, didn't he? Like he was trying to strangle him, and then he pulls the car thing out, crushes him, and all of a sudden
Yeah,
he's
he'd
he's
run a long
collapsing.
way, though. He'd ran a long way. If I'd ran that far, I'd probably be collapsing as well.
Yeah, maybe. But he does end up in hospital, and that is where we meet Dr. Dan Chalice, played by none other than Tom Atkins. Quick fact for you, Tris. Did you know that if you whisper Dr. Dan Chalice into a girl's ear, it will result in pregnancy 100% of the time?
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's just a fact. He's got that effect on women apparently. Um,
Maybe it's the mustache. It is a beautiful mustache.
I do love the stash. It is the ultimate porn stash, I would say. Um, and he's kind of fucked his ex-wife and kids off just to go back into the hospital of this because he turns up, doesn't he, to his ex-wife and kids and gives them the masks, and then they're
Yeah,
like,
the
"Now,
shit 50p masks from Tesco.
yeah, they are, aren't they? They're really shit-looking masks. It's a typical, I don't know, distant father gift, and he's probably picked it up from a petrol station on his way to
I
drop
did
something
I
off for the
did
kids.
notice that they were in sort of the traditional American sort of brown paper bag, which normally hides like a booze bottle, but in this case it was like some really shit masks. But of course the kids had already got their masks from mum, hadn't they? And she seemed like a bit of a harsh bitch, to be honest. She's a bit harsh at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Fact about that about the ex-wife. That is Annie from Halloween 1. The Annie Bracken, the girl that dies.
yep.
I think she doesn't die first. Or maybe she dies first. I don't know. Either she rocks up in quite a lot of John Carpenter movies. Um, so it's a good. That's a nice little side point. But yeah, we do. She's bought the silver shamrock masks, and we get
Oh
that first
yeah,
intro. Oh, dude.
look at these. Look at that. They're so much better than the 50p Tesco masks.
Yeah. There's a nice little nod to this in Halloween Kills, the new one. I'll not give too much away, but there's a nice little Easter egg for Halloween 3 in that movie, which is cool. We also get introduced to the greatest commercial in existence. The do say more day to
Oh yeah.
Halloween, 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 say more day to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. God, that's
Look at
fucking
that.
annoying.
Silver Shamrock. It's an earworm. It is an earworm. It gets stuck in your head.
Absolutely, and it just goes on, and it's there. So it's just there through the entire movie.
Yeah.
Constant. Even the actors get pissed off with it at certain times. Um, but yeah, so he's in the hospital, and Doctor Pornstash rocks up and sees the guy, and the guy starts raving, saying they're going to kill us all, which is really vague, and not very helpful to the plot. But he's right because Mr. Suitman has actually tracked him down to the hospital and kills the shit out of him. Good kill. What do you reckon?
Not bad. Not bad. It's
I
better
mean,
than the first one, definitely.
grabs him by the nose and rips the bone from his skull. I mean, I know you don't see the
It's
bone, but you
pretty
definitely hear
epic.
the. Yeah, I like it. It's a good one. I mean, um, yeah, I mean, he kills, but then he just walks outside, Mister Suitman, and blows himself the fuck up in the car. Which again, it does add to the mystery. There's a lot to keep you guessing early on in this movie. You don't really know
Hell of a lot.
too much.
And
Yeah,
as you sort of go through the movie as well, you realize there's a hell of a lot going on in this movie, a hell of a lot of subplots and a hell of a lot of different things going on. And yeah, you're right. Early in this movie, you're a bit like, what the fuck is happening here?
yeah,
It does
right.
keep you guessing.
Absolutely.
It keeps your interest. It's not predictable.
And him dying helps us further the plot because we are introduced to Ellie, who is his daughter, who comes in asking questions about his death and about the mysterious masks. And she's early 20s, absolutely stunning. So obviously, Dr. Pornstash just cannot let this opportunity pass up. So he
Oh,
calls
why
his
would you?
ex-wife.
She is pretty stunning.
True, but Dr. Pornstash, I don't think there's a woman in this movie that he's not either fucking or trying to fuck. Like the nurse at the beginning, who's helping him, like when he's walking away, puts his hand on her ass, and then there's the ex-wife. So you would assume that there's been some sort of intercourse gone on in their history, and then there's Ellie. There's also the nurse that does all the research for him. You see them sharing a kiss.
Oh,
Even the
he's definitely a womanizing character, isn't he?
even
Absolutely.
the extras, do you know like that Marge Gutter or whatever, the woman who gets lasered to death later on in the movie, that's his real wife. That's actually Tom Atkins' real wife in real life. So there's very few female characters in this movie that he's not, got into. I bet he even
Wow,
gave like
with a tash like that.
Yeah, with great cash comes great responsibility, obviously. Um, um, but yeah, he kind of tells his ex-wife and kids to suck it and decides to join her on an on like this insane road trip to find out what happened to Ellie's dad. I think he's more interested in just trying to nail her, but if he can find out
He
who
wants
killed the
the
dad in the
pussy.
meantime,
He wants the
he,
pussy.
he does. He's such an everyman as well. Like he's it's crazy. Tom, like I'm not sure in what world women everywhere want to fuck Tom Atkins. I do, I mean, he's not Stallone or Schwarzenegger or any of the
He-
the
He's
80s
definitely
movies.
punching. Definitely punching with this one.
100% punching. But like I said, I am a huge fan of Tom Atkins. He's such a massive staple of 80s and the horror. He was in The Fog and Night of the Creeps and Maniac Cop, and I think he's in Lethal
Maybe that's
Weapon.
the thing. Maybe that's the
Yeah,
thing. Maybe that's not
maybe
the only massive thing he's got. Maybe
that's
he
a good
has a
point.
massive weapon.
True,
Maybe
a
that's why the
lethal
ladies are
weapon.
falling over themselves. A lethal one.
He's in
But
Lethal Weapon as well.
that's a whole other podcast.
So obviously she's on board and practically falls into bed with him as soon as they get to the motel, which is in Santa Mira, which is like a small town near where the Silver Shamrock factory is. And there we meet.
This is literally like every holiday resort, every city, anywhere. You can always find a little like Irish like part to it, can't you? Doesn't matter if
mm,
it's New York, they've got lots of Irish bars. It doesn't matter if it's Benidorm, lots of sun, lots of Irish bars. No matter where you go, you can always find an Irish pub, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And this place, we get introduced to Buddy and his family. They're kind of like this American nuclear family type thing. He's really overly friendly. Nearly kills Tom Atkins actually with the bike as soon as he crashes his RV nearby. Um, Tom Atkins goes off to find out if Ellie's dad's been there, which he finds out, and then they decide to she's quite keen on going to explore Silver Shamrock, but he's playing it cool here, and he's like, "No, let's get a motel room. I'm tired. Let's take our time." And then he's like, "What?"
He wants to put on the Barry White.
He does, and he's like, "I'll sleep on the
That's what he
floor.
wants.
I'll sleep in the car." And
Let's get
she's
it on.
it's such a sleazy moment. Like he's like, "I'll go sleep in the car," and she's just like, "Where do you want to sleep, Mister Chalice?" He's like, "Oh, Doctor Chalice." That's a dumb question. And that's a theme in all Tom Atkins like films. In The Fog, like he's starring opposite Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's in bed with him within 10 minutes of meeting him in the movie. Is the
Maybe it's like a
magnetism.
clause in his contract that, he has to attract every female in the movie. A bit like, like Jason Statham and The Rock have clauses in their contract when they're doing their action movies that they cannot die. Maybe his is literally, I have to bed every woman in this movie.
Maybe. You know what though? In real life, he seems like such a cool guy. Like he's on that In Search of Darkness documentary that I rave about so often, and he's just like so down to earth. I mean, he's like 80 odd years old now, and like he's so funny and
And
down to earth.
still betting the 18-year-olds.
Yeah, still pounding it. Gross. But yeah, they end up in bed. Um, and then things start happening. There are issues with pacing in this movie. I do concede that.
Yeah.
There's a curfew at six p.m. for some reason, which we never find out. Which nobody adheres to either, because Tom Atkins just walks straight out the door to explore, speaks to a homeless dude. Um, Ellie manages to find Marge Guttridge, or I can't remember the surname, but Marge, who's a sales rep who is complaining about the quality of the masks. Things start happening from here. So I think Marge is like looking in her room, isn't she? She's looking at the tag that she finds, and like this 80s laser comes shooting out and just rips into her face. And I will say, I think the gore effect is pretty good on when her face is all mangled and like the blood crawls
Oh,
out.
it like goes on like full on Predator. It like opens up
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden this little like weird freaky spider thing crawls out and it's a bit like, ew.
yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
fucking grim.
pretty good gore. Pretty good gore.
And you've missed, yeah, the Jamie Lee Curtis Cameo is around here. She does the voice on the tannoy that's announcing the curfew. So she's not a physical appearance, but she does the voice on the tannoy. That's Jamie Lee Curtis. On that,
That's why I missed it.
yes, that is 100% why you missed it. Um, but yeah, so Marge is dead next door. It's really funny because like as she dies, like Tom Atkin, Dr. Chalice is in bed with Ellie, and Ellie hears the death next door, and she's like, "Oh, what's that?" And he's like, "Who fucking cares?" And just goes back to boning.
Let's get it on.
I'm sure he spends at least 40% of this movie boning. Um,
It's
but
like
yeah,
every man's dream.
yeah, true that. But yeah, so after that happens, he goes outside, and Marge has been wheeled out, and he's like, I'm a doctor, let me in. There's a female here, I've not boned. Let me check this out. Um,
Has
and
it got a
Connell
pulse?
Cock.
I'm on it.
I don't think she has got a pulse, to be fair. But
Not
Connell
looking
Cock,
at the scene before.
no. Connell Cochran rocks up and says, "No, she's going to get the very best care over at the factory. Not sh- not sure if they've got a medical center up there or something." Um, but yeah, they do that. And the next day, Dr. Chalice and Ellie go up to the factory and get a tour. They're with Buddy and his family. And that little kid is an absolute little shit. Like he's just going in there messing with all the masks, like gimme, gimme, gimme. Typical bratty kid. Um, but yeah, so they do that. And then I think they head back and they ended up getting Ellie gets kidnapped and Chalice gets attacked by what we find out to be a robot. Like at this stage,
Yeah, a
everything
little
goes
bit
out the
weird.
fucking yeah. So he beats like one of the men in suits comes and attacks Dr. Chalice, and he ends up beating him and like I think does he rip his hand into his stomach and there's like yellow blood coming out and shit. It's a bit like Phantasm
Yeah,
with
that
the
whole
yellow
glue
blood.
thing.
Yeah, but then he gets surrounded by a few
It,
more.
it sort of
Uh,
features a lot as well, doesn't it? It features a lot sort of like further in the movie as well. The
yeah,
whole goop thing.
yeah, it does. Yeah, and it's at this stage that I find it quite weird because he's got Teddy, the nurse at the hospital, doing some research on the ashes that came from the first suit guy blowing himself up early on in the movie, and she realizes that it's come from a robot or something, but she finds out like after we know about it. So it's really again, this is I say problem with pacings with the movie. It's really ineffective because like that should come like that should be the way we find out with her. But it's like at this stage we found out that it's a robot because of Dan Chalice. She finds out and then just gets drilled in the head by another man in suit. Um, and then we come back to Colonel Cochrane, um, who is like a Bond villain. He really is. Don't did you not did you get those vibes from? Because he really like he announces his entire evil
Yeah,
plot.
yeah, absolutely, definitely. Yeah, exactly as you said. Kind of, discussing that evil plot. Yeah, it's just a bit creepy. Just in
He
general,
is.
there's just something about him. It's a bit like that's not right, and you get that early on. As soon as he appears, you can just tell. Yeah, it's definitely a bit weird, but yeah, he's kind of an interesting character though as well because you want to know more.
You do, and they do keep it really vague, and the motivations
Absolutely, very
aren't
vague.
yeah, they're not massively clear. I mean, essentially, Silver Shamrock, and Cochrane are like fronts for a witch's coven, an ancient witch coven from Ireland. And he's like, so he says that years and years ago, back in the old country, on Halloween it was a festival of the dead, which was Samhain, and they would like sacrifice kids, and it would be all kinds of fucked up. Um, but nowadays, everyone's super woke, everyone's super soft. There's no ritualized murder of children, so he's going to put that right. He's developed this huge super evil genius plan with these super evil genius masks, and he's gonna sacrifice all the children on Halloween
Well,
for
well ahead of its time. Well ahead of its
yeah
time.
well
Amazing
and for
microchip hologram branding on there. Computers which can do better things than what we can do now. Yeah, a
yeah,
whole
but
bit of a mess.
it's witches, so they can do all this
Well,
shit.
technically warlocks, but we'll not get into that.
Yeah, maybe. And they've basically been using the Stonehenge rock, chipping bits off and putting them in the microchips, and that's where the evil power's coming from. So they're about to kill Dr. Chalice, but before they do, obviously they want to give him a guided tour of the evil lair. So they bring him
Absolutely.
to the room where Buddy and his family are watching some new promotional material just before they leave, and they've got the young kid with the mask on, the pumpkin mask, and then the advert starts, and again in I find this to be an awesome death. Snakes,
It's
the kid grabs his
definitely a
head and
bit
falls.
creepy.
Oh, it is. Yeah, nice shot. Um,
Oh,
and it's so dark when you think about it. Like it's a young kid whose head has been like mutated into snakes and bugs, and I know it's stupid to think about it, but when you watch it, like it definitely had an impact on me as a kid, because kids are kind of sacred in movies, aren't they? Like you don't kill kids
oh
in
yeah.
movies very often,
This
and
this one literally like rips that up. But where the fuck did these insects and everything come from?
it's
That's the only thing that
witchcraft,
gets
bro.
me at this point. Yeah, I know, but it's you know what I said previously. I like my horror to be a little bit realistic. I like it to be a little bit ergonomic, and this is the point where it all goes a little bit like a bit freaky. And I'm sat there thinking, "Fucking hell! How the hell did they get all them insects in there?" It's a bit like I'm a celeb.
True. True that. I think you can, when you're dealing with witches, you can just say magic and it can cover a whole range of continuity issues. Like for instance, the mother just dies of fright, which is not something you can die from. Um, the dad gets
Yeah,
bit by a rattlesnake.
yeah, literally like on the leg. It's a bit
Yeah,
gentle, a little bit on the leg. Oh
yeah,
dear.
just a quick
Typical
little
sort of like
bite.
early horror movie death where that one strike is all it takes to take him out. But yeah, you're right with the mum, like literally like, oh my god, my son's turned into an insect infested snake pit, and yeah, literally that's it. She melts into death.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they finally decide to dispose of Dan Chalice. So instead of killing him quickly like any evil villain would do normally, they um they put a mask on him and sit him in a room ready to watch the advert to turn his head into snakes. But fucking Dr. Chalice is as good as James Bond is, and manages to whip the mask off and like toss it. That's I wonder how many takes it took for
Yeah,
him to.
that was beautiful. How he just literally like flipped it. There it was, straight on the camera in perfect position to literally like, oh,
It's got
it's
to be the moustache.
oh
It's got to be the
perfection.
moustache.
It must be the gift, the best giftest mustache ever. If that gives you that kind of talent, I'll tell you what, Movember's coming. I'm growing it. I'm having a chalice tash.
A chalice tash. I think you
Yep.
should. I think you should. And then he manages
You
to
wait.
escape. Yeah,
It's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
get one of those
beautiful.
fake ones and stick it on the mask,
Yeah,
the
but that's just
handlebar
because you
one.
can't you've literally like got like bum fluff.
It's well, hair doesn't grow on plastic, bro. This is my real face from now on. But yeah,
What you
chalice
don't know,
is.
listeners, viewers, he's literally 12 under there.
That's it. Yeah, my balls just dropped really low. Um, so Doctor Chalice escapes the old room, the old death room, and just finds his way to some rafters and starts dumping all the microchips down on the robots, and somehow that kills them. I don't know how. I mean, Marge managed to
Yeah,
pick one up
I'm still
earlier.
trying. I'm still trying to figure that out. It was like some kind of weird like deflection. It's literally like kills all the robots, all those androids and everything, just gone with a box of microchips. How many microchips were in that box? You seem to be pouring them for like ever.
I know, and it was Halloween as well. So why are they still there? Like the advert is 2 minutes from being aired. Why do they are these all spares? Are they returns? Like, why are they even there? Surely they should be
I,
out
I,
on masks being delivered to the general public.
you'd expect that given what the plot is, but I also quite like that they've got this nice little circle of
Mm,
computers, and I don't know if you noticed it, but it was kind of organized a little bit like Stonehenge.
yeah, I did
Was
clock
that
that.
intended?
I don't know. I didn't. I haven't read anything on that. But also, Colonel Cochrane. He called him Colonel Cochrane. Colonel Cochrane gets killed just by the Stonehenge rune. Like he starts clapping chalice and then just disappears and gets killed by the by the Stonehenge stone. I don't know how it happens or why it happens, but it happens. Um, and then Chalice leaves and bumps into Ellie, and they finds her tied up. So they start driving back, and then Ellie is a robot. She's been made into a robot and starts attacking him, and he has to decapitate her. Like,
It
which is
doesn't work.
I think that's quite harsh. Again, the other decapitation doesn't even work because she fucking gets straight back up and starts
Yeah,
attacking
literally,
the
the
shit.
arm like comes like attacks him, and then yeah, there's just no killing that thing.
No, exactly. And then he ends up at the petrol station from the beginning, and he rings up all the TV station, or rings up one number which seems to have access to be able to pull. How did he get that number, and how did he get
Yellow
straight through to
pages.
someone?
We don't have that anymore. Directory inquiries. We've just got Maureen or 118 and them dudes in vests.
I would, we used to have the yellow pages. There was definitely no number for the central TV system that would pull programs or adverts at your command. And but
No, you can't even Google that shit.
exactly, to his credit, I mean, it must have been a video call, and she must have seen his stash and just instantly swooned because he manages to get the first two adverts pulled. But then, obviously, the third one is still on, and the film ends with him shouting, "Switch it off! Switch it off! Switch it off!" And then it fades to black, and so ends Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
I
Great
hate this
movie.
film for that very last scene. I need to know. Did the kids
Well,
die?
the
Were they saved?
original, the original movie, the original idea, original cut was it was going to fade to black, and they were going to have screams of children. Um, like in the background, like that. It was going to end with the screams of children and the screen fading to black, which I would have absolutely loved. I would have thought that was like the darkest thing you could possibly end on. But they thought it was too dark, and they wanted to leave it ambiguous as to whether or not what happened. I remember being irritated by it as well when I was younger, but I love this movie. I think it's a fucking great movie. Just gonna have a look at my notes, see if there's any more talking points. So yeah, one thing I want to talk about this one is I think the standard of kills in this one are really good on the whole. Yeah, the first one's really weak. I definitely concede that. And there's some silly ones like the old woman that's in the rocking chair whose head falls off, which I think is really funny, but obviously she's a robot.
It is. It is a comedy moment.
Yeah, and Ellie's decapitation as a robot is a bit silly, but the one in the hospital where the robot guy grabs hold of the nose of the guy and just yanks it and rips it. I think that's a really brutal one. There's the woman who's messing with the laser and just gets her face all smashed up and all the bugs, and then all the kids, the Buddy's kid getting his head turned into snakes and stuff. All really dark stuff. Really, I wouldn't say it's not the most brutal thing you're going to see, but for the 80s, I think they're definitely up there with some of the best kills.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing to remember about this one with the third installment in this franchise is that it's not a slasher.
No,
They've
absolutely
not
not.
gone
No.
down that same route of a third sequel where it's exactly the same as the first two, just with a little bit of difference thrown in. What they've tried to do is they've tried to actually go back to what Carpenter initially wanted Halloween to be, which was an anthology of different scenarios around
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Halloween event, totally different in each film, and they've tried to go back to that with this one. Unfortunately for them, they've ignored the fact that they've created a really, really good, kind of horror slasher villain, but they've kind of moved away from that in this third installment, and it is it's about witchcraft. There's androids in there. There's so much different things going
It
off.
throws a
It's
lot at the wall. See
supernatural.
what
It's
sticks, doesn't it? Yeah,
yeah, it's exactly that. It's literally like throwing everything at the wall. See what happens, what sticks,
yeah,
what
yeah.
works, what doesn't. And I know people didn't like it because everybody had fallen in love with this whole villain of Michael Myers and everything else, and the critics didn't like it because it didn't follow on. It had no continuity from the first two films. But as a standalone film, I quite like it. It wasn't predictable. You had no idea where it was going, even right up to the end. And the very final shot, you don't know what's actually happening. You don't know whether the kids died. Did they die? Did they not? I don't know. If you think about it, shit, Did they die? That's really dark. That's really creepy. And I kind of like that about it. The fact that there was no predictability about any of this film. You did not know at any point where it was going.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about the Myers connection, I think with this, I think if Halloween 3 was Halloween 2, then people would have looked at this in a much different light. I think the thing is, you did Halloween 1, which was a shame. If this had been Halloween 2, then you would have established the rules that this is an anthology type
Yeah,
movie series
absolutely.
where the first year is Myers, then now it's Season of the Witch. But the thing is, I think once you do the sequel to Halloween 1 and in Halloween 2 with Michael Myers, you've then established that Michael Myers is Halloween and Halloween is Michael Myers. So
Yeah,
doing the
you
third one,
confirmed the villain is the franchise essentially
yeah,
by doing
and
the
it makes
sequel
no
to it.
sense to move away from that after you've already done two. I think if this had been the second one, we'd have been talking about this in a different light. Yeah, it was panned by
Absolutely.
critics, and it very divisive amongst fans. But I mean, it made money. I mean, it was on a budget of 2.5 million, and it made nearly 15 million. So it was a long way from a financial flop. But it
Yeah.
obviously didn't do the same kind of numbers that Halloween 1 and 2 did. But yeah, I love the darkness of it. I think a lot of people miss this. They look at the corniness and some of the story plot points and the issues of the pacing, and they kind of forget that this is, at its heart, this is a film about child genocide. This is a film about a coven of witches plotting to murder children across America. And I think maybe if the film focused a little bit more on that, then it might have been a bit more scarier than it was because as much as I love this film, I don't find it that scary. Um, but yeah, it's a great film. I mean, do we want to look at rating this motherfucker?
Yeah, I mean, as a standalone, I really like this film. I'm not going to lie. If I'm looking at it in terms of the franchise, then like everybody else, the critics and everything, yeah, probably a little bit disappointed. But I think overall, if you look at it for what it is, it's a totally different story. It's part of the whole ethos of the anthology and everything else that, Carpenter wanted, to create there. Then I'm actually quite positive about this film, if I'm honest, which I didn't think I would be thinking about what, the press was around the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to give this a solid 7.
7,
Horrible, grueling, snake infested, insect infested corpses in a mask out of 10.
decent. That's a better mark than I expected you to give it. To be fair, um, I'm gonna gush over this movie. I absolutely love this movie. It's one of the very select few movies that when I put it on gives me a genuine feeling of warmth, which is very weird to say it's about killing
Oh,
kids,
it's
but
like Christmas, killing
it
the
is.
kids. Oh,
It's like
makes
there's a
me
few.
warm and fuzzy inside.
Oh, absolutely, just tickles my little black heart. But I love. I no, I genuinely love this film. It's got Tom Atkins, who is one of my favorite actors in horror. It's got.
And
I
porn.
think it's got a. Yeah, but it's got a great score. It's got some good kills. No, it doesn't have Michael Myers. No, I don't give a shit about it. It keeps you guessing. There's a lot of pacing issues and there's a lot of plot holes. But like I said, for me, this is an absolute nine nine women wanting to fuck Tom Atkins out of 10. This is an absolute. Our rating system is absolutely broken already because I cannot look at these movies objectively. I'm grading from the heart, and this is an absolute 9 out of 10.
And this is where I'm kind of going to destroy all of your dreams right here, right now. Because obviously we're marking that as a film on its own. If we're marking it in terms of the franchise side of things, I'm probably going to destroy it, and I'm not going to give it any more than like a 3. But I'm looking at it
Whoa,
standalone. So yeah,
that that's what I give to you.
I've,
Giving
I've
it.
I've broke your little Halloween 3 loving heart. I know you secretly take this film to bed and gently clutch your yet to form tinkle, firmly.
Go
You love
fuck
it
yourself.
that much.
In terms of Halloween movies, this is still a 9 out of 10. You know, I rate this higher than the original, which
That's
is
what
a
fucks me
big
off so
thing.
much because I think if they'd have actually, and you said it earlier, if they'd have done this film as a second film, it would have been a cracking way to carry on that anthology. But right now, we've had one and we've had two, and then we have this weird. It's pretty. Halloween 3 is pretty much the fat kid in gym class.
Yeah, it's the
It
redheaded
doesn't.
stepchild,
It
isn't it?
it doesn't fit with literally anything beforehand. So I think if you look at it as a standalone chapter in the franchise, yes, it's a good film. But if you're looking at the franchise as a whole, it's literally it doesn't fit. It's literally it's nothing. It's kind of that whole oh shit. Well, we tried to do something different, but it didn't fit. It didn't really work. So let's try and go back to what we did in the first point, and that's a massive shame because I think if they'd have continued down that whole ethos that Carpenter wanted to do, and actually having these whole that anthology like he wanted, different scenarios around things that happened on Halloween, it would have been far better than what we've ended up with.
You know, dude, something worries me. Are we gonna? We've started with Halloween, um, because we're cashing in on Halloween Kills, but we've gone pretty controversial in both of us rating Halloween 3 higher than the fucking original. Um, I'm just feeling all those unsubscribe buttons and thumbs down buttons as we go. You know, I don't care. This is This is not an objective report. This is how we feel about it. And Halloween 3 is the fucking superior movie so far. So what are we doing next week, Tris? What's on the agenda?
So I think we have to go chronologically, don't we? And
We
we
might as
have to
well.
look at the next one, and we have to see what the fourth installment is going to give us.
The
Which
Return of Michael Myers.
yeah, and I am looking forward to seeing how the fuck they managed to do that, especially after two. How the fuck can they even bring him back after what happened at the end of two?
True.
I'm
Well,
looking forward to that.
we will find out next week. Don't forget to get us on social media, facebook.com/ebygore, Twitter and Instagram @ebygore, or you can catch us by email at ebygore@gmail.com. Let us know what you
Definitely.
think in the comment section. If you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you could rate and review us, we would much appreciate that. Let us know what you think, and we will see you guys next week for Halloween 4. Bye.
See you later.